The space station floated high above Earth like a giant metal flower. Its lights twinkled against the black sky filled with stars. Inside the station, beings from many different worlds walked through the long halls. Some had scales, some had fur, and some looked almost human. But the humans were different from the others. They served food, cleaned floors, and bowed their heads when the powerful aliens walked by. Dae-Yoon wiped sweat from her face as she carried a heavy tray through the fancy restaurant called Starlight Haven. The tray held expensive drinks for the dragon people who sat at the best tables. Her feet hurt from working for 12 hours, but she could not stop. She needed money to help her sick mother back on Earth. At the biggest table in the restaurant sat the most important dragon of all. Emperor Taeho looked like a man in his 40s, but his eyes were ancient and cold. His skin had a slight shine to it, and when he moved, people could see the power in his muscles. He had ruled the Dragon Empire for 800 years. Everyone feared him. Next to the emperor sat a small dragon child. Little Wu Jin was only 6 years old, but he looked sad and tired. His wings were twisted and small. When he tried to breathe fire like other dragons, only tiny sparks came out. The other dragons at the table looked at him with shame. In their world, weak dragons were useless dragons. Dae-Yoon had watched the little dragon for days. She saw how the royal guards pushed him around when he walked too slowly. She saw how his father never looked at him with love, only disappointment. It made her heart hurt. The child reminded her of her little brother Minho, who had died 3 years ago. The restaurant was full of important aliens tonight. They were here for a big ceremony where the Dragon Empire would sign new trade deals with Earth. Everyone wore expensive clothes and spoke in quiet, serious voices. The human workers moved like shadows, trying not to be noticed. Suddenly, little Wu Jin started shaking. His small body trembled and his eyes rolled back. He made strange noises and fell from his chair onto the floor. It was one of his sick spells. The dragons at the table looked angry and embarrassed. 2 big dragon guards stomped over to the child. They grabbed his small arms roughly and started to drag him away from the table. They wanted to hide him so he would not embarrass the emperor anymore. Dae-Yoon dropped her tray. The glasses crashed to the floor, but she did not care. She ran to the little dragon and knelt down beside him. The guard stopped and stared at her with shock. No human was allowed to touch the royal family. It was a crime that meant death. But Dae-Yoon did not think about death. She only thought about the scared little child. She gently lifted Wu Jin into her arms and held him close to her chest. She spoke to him in soft Korean words, the same words she used to comfort her brother when he was sick. "It's okay, little one," she whispered. "You're safe now. I'm here." The entire restaurant became silent. Every alien stopped talking and stared at the human woman holding the dragon prince. The guards reached for their weapons, ready to kill her for her crime. But something amazing happened. Little Wu Jin stopped shaking. His breathing became calm and steady. He pressed his small scaly face against Dae-Yoon's shoulder and made soft, happy sounds. For the first time in months, he was not crying. Emperor Taeho stood up slowly from his chair. His face showed no feeling, but his eyes were wide with surprise. He had never seen his son calm down so quickly. He had never seen anyone treat Wu Jin with such gentle care. "Put the child down," said one of the guards in a harsh voice. "You will die for touching him." Dae-Yoon looked up at the emperor. She was scared, but she did not let go of Wu Jin. "Please," she said in broken Galactic Standard language. "He is just a small child. He needs gentle hands, not rough ones." The emperor walked closer to her. His footsteps were heavy on the restaurant floor. Everyone watched and waited to see what he would do. Would he kill the human woman for her crime? Would he order the guards to tear his son away from her arms? Taeho looked down at his son. Wu Jin was still pressed against Dae-Yoon's shoulder, but now he was looking at his father with bright, hopeful eyes. The child had not looked at him that way in a very long time. "Stand up," the emperor said to Dae-Yoon. She stood carefully, still holding Wu Jin. The little dragon wrapped his small arms around her neck and would not let go. "What is your name?" Taeho asked. "Dae-Yoon," she said quietly. "Why did you touch my son?" Dae-Yoon looked at the powerful dragon ruler. She knew her next words might be her last words, because he was scared and hurting. All children need someone to care for them when they are sick. The emperor stared at her for a long moment. Around them, the restaurant was still completely quiet. Even the kitchen workers had stopped making noise to listen. "I had a little brother," Dae-Yoon continued, her voice shaking but strong. He was sick too, like your son. When he had bad spells, I would hold him just like this. It always made him feel better. Where is your brother now? Taeho asked. Dayun's eyes filled with tears. He died 3 years ago. But before he died, he was happy because he knew someone loved him. Woojin lifted his head and looked at Daeun's face. He saw her tears and gently touched her cheek with his small clawed hand. Don't cry, nice lady, he said in his tiny voice. The Emperor felt something strange happen in his chest. For 800 years, his heart had been cold like stone. He had been taught that dragons must be strong and hard. Weak feelings were for weak beings. But watching this human woman cry for a dead brother, watching his son try to comfort her, he felt warmth he had forgotten existed. Guards, step back, Taeho ordered. The guards looked confused but obeyed. They put away their weapons and moved to the sides of the room. The Emperor looked at Daeun again. How long have you worked on this station? 2 years, sir. And you support your family on Earth? Yes, sir. My mother is sick. She needs medicine. Taeho nodded slowly. He looked at his son, who was still holding on to Daeun like she was the most precious thing in the galaxy. You will continue working, the Emperor said finally. But you will also care for my son when he needs it. The guards will not harm you. Daeun's mouth fell open in surprise. She had expected to die, not to be given a job caring for the Dragon Prince. Thank you, she whispered. As the Emperor walked back to his table, his mind was full of questions. Why had a simple human shown more care for his son than he had? Why had her touch calmed Woojin when nothing else could? What did she know that he did not? For the rest of the evening, Taeho watched Daeun work. She served other customers with the same gentle kindness she had shown his son. She helped an old alien steady his walking stick. She cleaned up spilled food without complaining. She smiled at everyone, even when they were rude to her. And whenever Woojin looked tired or sad, she would quietly go to him and speak soft words until he felt better. The Emperor had ruled a mighty empire across the stars. He commanded fleets of warships and armies of soldiers. But he had never seen power like this. The power to heal with kindness. The power to calm with love. That night, as his ship flew through space toward the dragon homeworld, Taeho sat in his private room and thought about the human woman named Daeun. He thought about her dead brother and her sick mother. He thought about the way she had risked her life to comfort a child who was not even her own species. For the first time in 800 years, the Dragon Emperor wondered if he had been wrong about everything. 3 days had passed since the incident in the restaurant. Emperor Taeho could not stop thinking about what he had seen. He sat in his private office aboard the great ship Eternal Flame, staring at reports from across his empire. But the words on the screens meant nothing to him. All he could think about was the human woman and his son. He pressed a button on his desk. Send Captain Kyung-soo to me, he ordered. Captain Kyung-soo was half dragon and half human. His mother had been human, but his father was a dragon warrior. This made him useful for understanding both species, but it also made many full dragons look down on him. He entered the Emperor's office and bowed deeply. You called for me, sir? I want you to watch the human woman named Daeun, Taeho said. Learn everything about her. How she lives, what she does, why she acts the way she does. Kyung-soo looked confused. Sir, is she dangerous? Should I arrest her? No, the Emperor said quickly. Just watch and report to me and... He paused, feeling strange about his next words. Make sure she has everything she needs to care for my son. The captain nodded, though he did not understand. Yes, sir. After Kyung-soo left, Taeho activated the security screens in his office. He could see into different parts of the space station where Daeun worked. He told himself he was just checking on his son's safety. But deep down, he knew that was not the whole truth. On the screen, he watched Daeun in the small room where Woojin stayed during the day. The little dragon was sitting on a soft chair while Daeun knelt beside him. She was showing him pictures on a small device. This was my brother Minho, she said, pointing to a photo of a young human boy with a big smile. He could not learn things as fast as other children, but he was the happiest person I ever knew. Woojin looked at the picture with interest. Why was he happy if he was different? Daeun smiled. Because being different does not mean being bad. It just means being special in your own way. Minho could make anyone laugh even when they were very sad. That was his special gift. What is my special gift? Woojin asked. Daeun touched his small wing gently. We will find out together. Everyone has something special about them. Some people are strong, some are fast, some are smart, and some are kind. You are very kind, Wu Jin. The Emperor leaned closer to the screen. He had never heard anyone talk to his son this way. In dragon culture, children were taught to be warriors and rulers. They learned to fight and conquer. No one had ever told Wu Jin that kindness was a gift. Over the next few days, Taeho watched more and more. He saw Daeun teach Wu Jin simple games that did not require strong wings or big flames. She showed him how to stack blocks and draw pictures. When Wu Jin managed to breathe a tiny flame to light a candle, she clapped and cheered like he had won a great battle. "Look how perfectly you lit that candle," she said. "Your flame is exactly the right size. A big flame would have burned the whole candle down." Wu Jin beamed with pride. He had never thought of his weak fire as perfect for anything. The Emperor also watched Daeun with other people. She always helped without being asked. When an old cleaning robot broke down, she fixed it with gentle hands. When a young alien worker looked sad, she shared her lunch with him. When a customer was rude to her, she still smiled and did her job well. Captain Kyung-soo brought reports about Daeun's life. She sent most of her money to Earth to buy medicine for her mother, Soonja. She lived in a tiny room and ate simple food so she could help her family. She had no husband or boyfriend because she spent all her time working. She has never been in trouble with the law, Kyung-soo reported. Everyone who knows her says she is kind and honest. She works harder than anyone else on the station. What about her family? Taeho asked. Her father died when she was young. Her mother raised her and her brother alone by working 3 jobs. When the brother Minho died in an accident, Daeun came to work in space to make more money for her mother's medical care. The Emperor felt that strange warmth in his chest again. This human woman had given up everything to help others. She had no power, no wealth, no army, but she had something he was beginning to understand was more valuable than all of those things. One evening, Taeho made a decision that surprised even himself. He went to the room where Daeun was putting Wu Jin to bed. The guards at the door looked shocked to see the Emperor, but they stepped aside. Daeun was sitting on the edge of Wu Jin's small bed, reading him a story from her personal device. When she saw the Emperor, she quickly stood up and bowed. "Your Majesty," she said nervously. "Continue with the story," Taeho said. "I want to hear it too." Daeun looked surprised but sat back down. Wu Jin smiled happily to see his father there. The Emperor sat in a chair nearby, something he had never done before. The story was about a small dragon who could not fly as high as other dragons. But one day, he used his low-flying ability to rescue a family of ground animals from a flood. The other dragons realized that every skill, big or small, had value. "That dragon is like me," Wu Jin said when the story ended. "Yes," Daeun agreed. "And like him, you will find ways to help others with your special abilities." After Wu Jin fell asleep, Taeho and Daeun walked out to the hallway. The Emperor had many questions burning in his mind. "Why do you care so much about my son?" he asked. "He is not your species. He is not your family." Daeun thought for a moment before answering. "When I see Wu Jin, I see a child who needs love. It does not matter what he looks like or where he comes from. All children deserve to feel safe and valued. In my culture, we believe weak children make the species weaker," Taeho said. "But who decides what makes someone weak?" Daeun asked gently. "Wu Jin has trouble flying, but he is very smart. He thinks about problems in ways other dragons do not. He is gentle and caring. These are not weaknesses." The Emperor stared at her. "You really believe that?" "Yes, I do. On Earth we have a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. It means everyone in a community helps take care of all the children, not just their own. When we help each other, we all become stronger." That night, Taeho could not sleep. He walked through his ship thinking about Daeun's words. He had been taught that dragons were superior to all other species. He had been taught that only the strong deserved to survive. But this human woman was showing him a different way to think. She had no powerful weapons, but she had changed his son's life in just a few days. She had no armies, but she had made the mighty Dragon Emperor question everything he believed. The next morning, Taeho made another unusual decision. He ordered that Daeun be given a permanent position as Wu Jin's caretaker. He also arranged for her mother on Earth to receive the best medical care available. When Daeun heard the news, she started crying. "Thank you," she whispered. "But why are you being so kind to me?" Taeho looked at his son, who was happily playing with blocks that Da-un had taught him to stack. For the first time in years, Wu Jin looked truly happy. "Because you taught me something important," the emperor said. "You showed me that taking care of others is not weakness. It is the greatest strength of all." But not everyone in the Dragon Empire was happy about the emperor's new ideas. In the great council chambers on the Dragon homeworld, the old dragon lords whispered among themselves. They did not like what they were hearing about their emperor and the human woman. Counselor Dongwook was the oldest and most traditional of all the dragons. He had lived for over 1,000 years and believed strongly in the old ways. When he heard that the emperor was letting a human care for the royal heir, he became very angry. "This is madness," he said to the other council members. "The emperor has been infected by human weakness. If we do not stop this, our entire empire will fall." The other dragons nodded in agreement. They decided that something had to be done. The human woman was dangerous not because she had weapons, but because she had ideas. Ideas that could change everything they had built. As Taiho continued to learn from Da-un, he did not know that his enemies were planning against him. He did not know that the kindness he was discovering would soon be tested in ways he could never imagine. Weeks passed like flowing water. Every day, Emperor Taiho found new reasons to visit the space station. He told his advisors it was for important business, but the truth was different. He wanted to watch Da-un and Wu Jin together. He wanted to understand this strange magic called kindness. Da-un had turned a small storage room into a special place for Wu Jin. The walls were covered with colorful pictures that she had drawn. There were soft cushions for sitting and toys that did not require strong wings or big flames to enjoy. Most importantly, there were books. Lots and lots of books. "Today we will read about dragons who became great inventors," Da-un said, settling down next to Wu Jin on a large pillow. This dragon could not fight like the others, but he built amazing machines that helped everyone. Wu Jin loved the stories. But even more than that, he loved the way Da-un made him feel important. When he asked questions, she never told him to be quiet. When he shared his ideas, she listened carefully and told him they were good thoughts. The emperor often stood outside the room, watching through the small window in the door. His guards thought it was strange, but they did not dare ask questions. One afternoon, Taiho decided to go inside instead of just watching. He found Da-un helping Wu Jin with a puzzle. The little dragon was using his small flames to carefully melt pieces of colored wax, creating a beautiful picture. "Father," Wu Jin called out happily when he saw the emperor. "Look what I made." Taiho looked at the wax picture. It showed a family of dragons sitting together under a tree. The dragons in the picture were smiling and holding hands. "It's very good," Taiho said, and he meant it. "Da-un taught me that my small flames are perfect for art," Wu Jin explained proudly. "Big flames would melt everything too fast, but my flames can make detailed pictures." The emperor looked at Da-un with surprise. "You taught him this?" "I just helped him see what he could already do," she replied. "Every person has special abilities. Sometimes we just need help finding them." That evening, Taiho asked Da-un to join him for dinner. It was the first time in 800 years that the emperor had eaten a meal with someone who was not a dragon noble. The ship's kitchen staff were shocked by the request, but they prepared a small table in the emperor's private dining room. "Tell me about your world," Taiho said as they ate. "Tell me about these ideas you have about taking care of others." Da-un put down her fork and thought carefully. She knew this was important. On Earth, we believe that everyone has value. The old, the young, the sick, the different. We think a society is only as strong as how it treats its weakest members. But does this not make you weak as a species? Taiho asked. If you spend time caring for those who cannot contribute, do you not fall behind other civilizations? Da-un shook her head. It makes us stronger. When we care for the sick, we learn medicine. When we help the disabled, we invent new tools and ways of thinking. When we include everyone, we get ideas from people who see the world differently. She pulled out her personal device and showed him pictures of Earth. There were hospitals where humans cared for each other. Schools where children with different abilities learned together. Cities designed to help everyone move around easily. This is your mother? Taiho asked, pointing to a picture of an older woman smiling from a hospital bed. Yes, Sunja. She raised me and Minho by herself. She worked so hard to give us good lives. Da-un's voice became soft with love. She taught me that taking care of family is the most important thing anyone can do. And you consider my son to be family now? Daeun looked surprised by the question. Yes, I suppose I do. When you care for someone every day, when you watch them grow and learn, they become part of your heart. Taeho felt that warm feeling in his chest again. His son had been alone for so long, even when surrounded by dragons. But now Wu Jin had found someone who truly cared about him. Over the following days, the emperor began to change how he ruled his empire. Instead of just giving orders from his throne, he started visiting different parts of his ships and space stations. He talked to common soldiers and workers. He asked about their families and their problems. The soldiers were amazed. Their mighty emperor was asking about their children and their health. Some of them had never spoken directly to royalty before. Captain Kyung-soo noticed the changes in his leader. "Sir, the troops are talking about how different you seem. They say you seem more human." Taeho smiled at that. Perhaps being more human is not such a bad thing. But not everyone was happy with these changes. Word had reached the Dragon Council on the homeworld that their emperor was acting strangely. The old dragons were very upset. Counselor Dongwook was the most upset of all. He was over 1,000 years old and believed strongly in the old dragon ways. He had fought in many wars and conquered many worlds. The idea that dragons should learn from humans made him very angry. "The emperor has lost his mind," Dongwook said to the other council members. "This human woman has poisoned his thoughts with her weak ideas. What should we do?" asked Counselor Hee-jin, a younger dragon who was also worried. "We will go to the space station ourselves," Dongwook declared. "We will see what this human has done to our emperor, and then we will fix this problem permanently." Meanwhile, Daeun was teaching Wu Jin about different planets in the galaxy. They were looking at pictures of worlds with unusual plants and animals. "I want to visit all these places someday," Wu Jin said excitedly. "I want to learn about how other beings live." "That's a wonderful dream," Daeun encouraged him. "A good ruler should understand all the different people in his empire." "Do you really think I could be a good ruler someday?" Wu Jin asked quietly. "Even though I'm different from other dragons?" Daeun knelt down so she was at eye level with the little dragon. "Wu Jin, some of the best leaders in history were people who were different from everyone else. They saw things that others missed. They understood problems that others ignored. Your differences are not weaknesses. They are gifts." Unknown to them, Emperor Taeho was again watching from the doorway. But this time he was not alone. Counselor Dongwook had arrived on the space station with several other dragon nobles. They stood behind the emperor, their faces dark with anger. "So this is the human who has corrupted our emperor," Dongwook said in a cold voice. Taeho turned around slowly. "Counselor Dongwook, I did not expect you." "Clearly," the old dragon replied. "We came because we heard disturbing reports. Reports that you have forgotten your duties as a dragon leader." Inside the room, Daeun heard the voices and quickly moved to stand protectively in front of Wu Jin. She could sense danger. Dongwook pushed past the emperor and entered the room. He looked around at the colorful pictures, the soft cushions, the books. His face showed disgust. "This is what you have done to the royal heir?" he said. "You have made him soft and weak like a human child?" "I have helped him learn and grow," Daeun said bravely, though her voice shook a little. Dongwook laughed harshly. "You have ruined him. Dragons are meant to be warriors, not artists playing with wax and reading silly stories." He moved toward Wu Jin, who pressed closer to Daeun. "Come, boy. You are coming with me to learn how a real dragon should behave." "No," Wu Jin said in his small voice. "I want to stay with Daeun." Dongwook's eyes flashed with anger. "You will obey me, child. I am taking you to a proper military academy where you will learn discipline and strength." He reached out to grab Wu Jin, but Daeun stepped between them. "Please don't," she said. "He's just a little boy. He needs gentleness and love, not harsh training. You dare tell me how to raise a dragon prince?" Dongwook roared. "You are nothing but a servant." The emperor had been standing quietly, watching this scene unfold. For 800 years he had followed the old ways without question. He had believed that dragons must be hard and cold to be strong. But now he saw something different. He saw his son cowering in fear from his own people. He saw a human woman risking her life to protect a child who was not even her species. He saw the choice he had to make. "Counselor Dongwook," Taeho said in a voice that carried the power of 8 centuries of rule, "you will not touch my son." The old dragon turned to face the emperor. "You would choose this human over your own people?" Taeho looked at Daeun, who was still standing bravely in front of Wu Jin. He looked at his son, who was looking at him with hopeful eyes. He thought about all the things he had learned about kindness and love. "I choose what is right," the Emperor said firmly. "My son stays with his caretaker. Anyone who tries to harm either of them will answer to me." The room fell silent. Even the guards were shocked. The Dragon Emperor had just defied his own council to protect a human woman and defend her way of caring for his child. Dongwook's face turned dark with rage. "You have chosen your path, Taeho. Now you will face the consequences." The Dragon Empire had never seen anything like this before. News spread across the galaxy that Emperor Taeho had openly defied the High Council to protect a human woman. Some dragons were shocked and angry. Others were curious about what could make their mighty ruler change so completely. Counselor Dongwook left the space station in fury, but he was not finished. He sent messages to dragon worlds across the Empire, telling them that their emperor had been corrupted by human weakness. He called for other leaders to join him in removing Taeho from power. Many of the older dragons agreed with Dongwook. They had spent their lives believing that dragons were superior to all other species. The idea that they could learn from humans seemed impossible to them, but not all dragons felt this way. Some of the younger ones had always questioned the old harsh methods. Admiral Ji-hoon, who commanded the Third Dragon Fleet, sent a secret message to the Emperor. "Your Majesty," the message said, "I have been watching what you do with great interest. In my fleet, I have started treating my soldiers the way humans treat their families. I listen to their problems and help them solve their difficulties. My ships now fight better than ever before because the soldiers trust me and care about each other." Other messages came from across the Empire. General Yunseo wrote that she had used human medical techniques to save her daughter's life when dragon medicine had failed. Commander Yongsu reported that human teamwork methods had made his space station run more smoothly than it had in decades. Emperor Taeho realized that he was not alone. The kindness that Da-un had shown him was something that many dragons had been hungry for without knowing it. But the Empire was still splitting apart. Half the dragons supported the old ways, while the other half were open to these new ideas about compassion and care. Da-un found herself at the center of a galactic storm she had never wanted. Death threats arrived every day from angry dragons who saw her as the source of all the trouble. But supportive messages came too, from humans and other species who had been waiting for change. "I'm scared," she told Emperor Taeho one evening as they watched Wu Jin play with his art supplies. "I never wanted to start a war. I just wanted to help a little boy." "You did not start this war," Taeho assured her. "This war was always coming. The old ways were breaking people's spirits across the galaxy. You just showed us there was a better path." During this time, Wu Jin continued to grow and learn under Da-un's care. His confidence bloomed like a flower in spring. He discovered that his small flames were perfect for delicate engineering work. His careful, thoughtful nature made him excellent at solving complex problems that other dragons would attack with brute force. One day, a message arrived that changed everything. Dr. Hae-won, a human scientist working on a distant research station, contacted Da-un through secret channels. "I have been watching what you are doing," the message said. "You need to know that you are not alone. There are humans across the galaxy who have been quietly helping alien children that their own species had given up on. We have been working in secret for years." Da-un was amazed. She arranged to meet with Dr. Hae-won through a secure video connection. The scientist was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and gray hair. "We call ourselves the Compassion Network," Dr. Hae-won explained. "For 20 years we have been taking in alien children that other species considered defective or worthless. We care for them using human methods of love and support." She showed Da-un incredible data. Thousands of alien children from dozens of species had been transformed through human care. Young beings who had been destined for abandonment or death were now successful adults contributing to their societies. A Zorkan child who could not fight became a brilliant doctor. A Thelian youngling who was too emotional became a gifted diplomat. A crystal being who was considered cloudy and imperfect became an amazing artist whose work is treasured across 3 star systems. Da-un felt tears in her eyes. "All this time I thought I was the only one." "You were never alone," Dr. Hae-won said gently. "But you were the first to do it so publicly with such an important child. You gave us hope that we could finally stop hiding." The data from the Compassion Network was incredible. It proved that human methods of caring and inclusion led to better outcomes for children of every species. The old harsh methods that most alien cultures used actually held their young people back. When Emperor Taeho saw this information, he was stunned. "This changes everything," he said. "We have proof that kindness makes beings stronger, not weaker." But before they could share this discovery with the galaxy, disaster struck. Counselor Dongwook had been busy gathering support from the most traditional dragons. He had also been investigating Dayun and the humans who worked with alien children. When he discovered the Compassion Network, he saw it as proof that humans were trying to weaken all alien species. "They are infiltrating our societies," he declared to his followers. "They are poisoning our children with their soft ideas so that we become weak and they can conquer us." Dongwook ordered secret arrests across the galaxy. Human caregivers were taken from their homes in the middle of the night. The alien children they had been helping were dragged away to harsh military schools. Dr. Haewon was arrested on her research station. Dozens of other humans were captured. Many of the alien children they had cared for cried and begged for their human caregivers to come back. When the news reached the space station, Da-un was horrified. "This is my fault," she said, crying. "If I had just stayed quiet, none of this would have happened." "No," Emperor Taeho said firmly. "This is the fault of those who choose cruelty over kindness. We will not let them win." But Dongwook was not finished. He sent an official demand to Emperor Taeho. "Give us the human woman, Da-un, and we will release the others. Refuse, and she will be executed publicly, as an example to all humans who dare to interfere with alien cultures." The message included a deadline. Dayun had 3 days to surrender herself, or Dongwook would order her death along with the deaths of all the captured caregivers. When Wu Jin heard about this, he became very upset. "They can't take Da-un away," he cried. "She's my family." That night, the little dragon made a decision that surprised everyone. While the adults were meeting to discuss what to do, Wu Jin slipped away from his room. Despite his weak wings, he flew as far as he could through the space station corridors. He was trying to reach the communications center. He wanted to send a message to the Dragon Council himself. He wanted to tell them that Da-un was good and kind, and that hurting her would be wrong. The guards found him collapsed in a hallway, exhausted from flying farther than his small wings should have been able to carry him. When they brought him back, he was crying. "I want to help Da-un," he said. "She helped me so much. I have to do something." Emperor Taeho knelt down beside his son. For the first time in his 800 years of life, he felt proud of someone for their kindness rather than their strength. "You have already helped her more than you know," he told Wu Jin. "You showed me what love looks like. You taught me that caring for others is the most important thing any ruler can do." That night, Taeho made the most important decision of his long life. He would not hide anymore. He would not let fear control him. He would stand up for what was right, even if it cost him his empire. The next morning, he sent a message across the galaxy. It went to every dragon world, every space station, every ship in the empire. The message was simple but powerful. "I am Emperor Taeho, and I have something to tell you about strength and weakness, about power and love. Tomorrow I will show you proof that kindness is not our enemy. It is our greatest tool for building a better future." The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The war between the old ways and the new ways was about to reach its climax. And at the center of it all was a human woman who had simply wanted to help a sad little dragon feel better. But Da-un was no longer alone. Across the stars, beings were beginning to understand that sometimes the smallest acts of love could change the entire universe. The day of reckoning had arrived. Emperor Taeho stood in the great assembly hall of the Central Space Station, which had been chosen as neutral ground for the most important gathering in galactic history. Representatives from every species in the Dragon Empire were present, either in person or through video links that stretched across the stars. Dayun sat in the front row, her hands shaking slightly. Little Wu Jin was beside her, holding her hand tightly. They both knew that what happened today would decide not just their fate, but the future of countless beings across the galaxy. Counselor Dongwook stood at the opposite end of the hall with his supporters. Behind him were dozens of traditional dragons, their faces hard and unforgiving. They believed they were fighting to save their civilization from human corruption. Between them sat hundreds of other beings, all waiting to hear what their emperor would say. Taeho walked to the center of the hall. For 800 years he had commanded with fear and power. Today he would try something different. Today he would lead with truth and love. My fellow beings, he began, his voice carrying to every corner of the vast room. I stand before you today as an emperor who has learned that he was wrong about almost everything. A murmur went through the crowd. It was unheard of for a ruler to admit such a thing. For centuries we dragons have believed that strength comes from hardness, that power comes from cruelty, that the weak should be cast aside so the strong can flourish. I believed these things too until I met a human woman who showed me a different way. He gestured toward Daun, who stood up nervously. All eyes in the galaxy turned to look at the simple human who had somehow changed the mind of the mighty dragon emperor. This woman, Daun, saved my son's life, Teho continued. Not with medicine or technology, but with something far more powerful. She saved him with kindness. She showed him love when I had shown him only disappointment. She taught him that being different was not a curse but a gift. Lies, Counselor Dongwook shouted from across the hall. This human has poisoned your mind with weakness. She has made you forget what it means to be a dragon. Teho looked at the old counselor with sadness rather than anger. She has helped me remember what it means to be alive, he replied. But I do not ask you to take my word for this. I ask you to look at the evidence. Large screens around the hall lit up with data from Dr. Haewon's research. Numbers and charts showed the incredible success of human caregiving methods across dozens of species. Admiral Ji-hoon stepped forward from the crowd. Your Majesty, I can confirm these results. When I started treating my soldiers with respect and care, their performance improved by 40%. Ships that had been failing their mission suddenly became the best in the fleet. General Yoon Seo spoke next. My daughter was dying of a disease that dragon medicine could not cure. Human doctors saved her life using methods our healers had never considered. Now she is healthy and strong, and she wants to become a doctor herself to help others. One by one, dragons stepped forward to share their stories. They talked about family members who had been helped by human kindness. They spoke of problems that had been solved through cooperation instead of force. But the most powerful moment came when Wu Jin himself walked to the center of the hall. The little dragon was nervous, but Daun had taught him to be brave. He looked up at the thousands of beings watching him and spoke in his small, clear voice. My name is Wu Jin, and I am the son of the Emperor, he began. Many of you think I am weak because I cannot fly far or breathe big flames. For a long time I thought I was weak too. He paused and looked at Daun, who smiled at him encouragingly. But Daun taught me that being different is not the same as being weak. She showed me that my small flames are perfect for creating art and building delicate machines. She taught me that thinking carefully is just as valuable as acting quickly. She helped me see that kindness is the strongest power of all. The little dragon's words echoed through the silent hall. Here was the heir to the Dragon Empire, standing proud and confident, speaking about love and acceptance. I do not want to rule an empire built on fear, Wu Jin continued. I want to help build something better, a place where everyone is valued, where everyone can contribute their special gifts. Taeyun showed me this is possible, and I believe we can do it together. When Wu Jin finished speaking, something amazing happened. Beings all across the hall began to stand up and applaud. Not just the dragons who supported change, but creatures from many different species who had been inspired by the little dragon's words. Dr. Haewon, who had been released along with the other captured caregivers, stood up to speak. For 20 years, my colleagues and I have worked in secret to help children that other species had given up on. We have seen miracles happen when love replaces harsh treatment. The data proves that compassion makes everyone stronger, not weaker. She activated another screen that showed pictures of the children who had been helped. A young crystal being whose art now decorated palaces across 3 worlds. A small insect-like creature who had become a brilliant engineer. A water-dwelling youth who had designed new swimming techniques that were used by athletes everywhere. These children were all labeled as defective by their own species, Dr. Haewon explained. But with care and support, they became extraordinary contributors to the galaxy. Counselor Dongwook was growing more angry as he listened. These are tricks and lies, he shouted. You are showing us a few unusual cases to distract from the truth. Humans are weak and they want to make us weak too. But his words were met with silence. The evidence was too strong, the stories too moving. Even some of his own supporters were beginning to look uncertain. Emperor Taeho stepped forward again. Counselor Dongwook, I understand your fear. Change is frightening, especially when it challenges everything we have believed. But fear is not a good foundation for leadership. He looked around the hall at all the different species represented there. I propose that we build a new kind of empire. Not one based on conquest and domination, but one based on cooperation and mutual support. We will call it the Compassionate Alliance. The name sent a wave of excitement through the hall. A compassionate alliance, it sounded like something worth belonging to. Any species that wants to join us will be welcome, Tejo continued.
We will share our knowledge, our resources, and our care for each other.
We will help each other's children grow strong and healthy. We will face the challenges of the galaxy together. Dongwook made one last desperate attempt to stop this change. You are destroying everything our ancestors built, he cried. Future generations will curse your name for this weakness. But it was too late. Across the hall, representatives were standing up to voice their support for the new alliance. Species that had been conquered by the dragons now eagerly joined as equal partners. Others that had never been part of the empire asked to join this new organization built on compassion. The old dragon empire was ending, but something beautiful was beginning in its place. 5 years later, Daiyun stood in a garden on the central station of the Compassionate Alliance. She was watching Wu Jin, now 11 years old, teaching a group of young beings from different species how to work together on an art project. The little dragon had grown into a confident leader. His unique abilities had made him a gifted inventor and diplomat. He spoke 12 different languages and had designed machines that helped disabled beings across the galaxy move and communicate more easily. Emperor Tejo, who now insisted that people simply call him Taiho, approached with 2 cups of tea. He sat beside Daun on a bench and watched his son with pride. He has become everything I never imagined he could be, Tejo said softly. He was always special, Daun replied. He just needed someone to believe in him. As did I, Tejo admitted. You taught me that strength comes from vulnerability. That true power lies in lifting others up, not pushing them down. They sat in comfortable silence, watching as children from a dozen different worlds played together in the garden. Crystal beings sparkled in the sunlight while furry creatures chased floating balls of light that young dragons had created with their flames. Do you ever regret it? Tejo asked. All the trouble that came from one act of kindness? Dayan smiled as she watched a small alien child help another who had fallen down. Never, she said firmly. Look around us. This is what the galaxy looks like when we choose love over fear. This is what happens when we care for each other. Above them, ships from hundreds of worlds moved peacefully through space. They carried not weapons of war, but supplies for those in need, teachers to share knowledge, and healers to tend the sick. The Compassionate Alliance had grown beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Even species that had been bitter enemies for centuries were now working together to solve problems and help each other thrive. Wu Jin ran over to them, his face bright with excitement. Dayan, father, come see what we built. He led them to where the children had constructed a magnificent sculpture, made from materials donated by each of their worlds. It showed beings from different species holding hands in a circle, supporting each other. It's beautiful, Dayan said, hugging the young dragon. Just like our alliance, Wu Jin replied. Different beings, different abilities, but all working together.